Hello on a bright and sunny day here in Kampala, Uganda. My name is Becky, and it's my absolute joy to be able to just dig a little bit into the Bible with you today in less than 10 minutes. So on Monday this week, in my video then, I talked about a king in the Old Testament called Hezekiah. And he was a pretty good king. He pointed the people of Judah back to God, back to worship. But after he died, his son Manasseh became king of that same nation. And he was only 12 when he became king, was Manasseh. And he very quickly undid all of that good work that his father Hezekiah had done. But more than that, according to the Bible, Manasseh did much evil in the eyes of the Lord, arousing his anger. He sacrificed his children in the fire. He practiced divination and witchcraft, sought omens and consulted mediums and spiritists. And on top of all of that, he placed an image that he had made inside God's own temple, leading the people of Judah astray to worship other gods. 2 Chronicles chapter 33 and verse 9 tells us that Manasseh did more evil than the nations the Lord had destroyed before the Israelites. This was not a good king. But isn't it interesting that he was the son of Hezekiah, a man who the Bible tells us did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, just as his father David had done? How could he so quickly turn away from everything that Hezekiah had put into place? What happened there? How did the son of one of the very best kings of Judah so quickly turn into one of the very worst? We don't really know. We don't have the details here. Maybe Manasseh was just so young when he became king that he didn't appreciate all of the good things that Hezekiah had done. Maybe he was swayed by bad advisors. We just don't know. There's not that information. And it doesn't really matter. What matters the absolute most, I think, in all of Manasseh's story is what happens much later in his reign. So the army of Assyria assaulted Judah, and they actually captured Manasseh himself. He was taken away as a prisoner. They put a hook in his nose and bronze shackles on him, and they dragged him away from his land in humiliation and in defeat. And then this happens in 2 Chronicles chapter 33, verses 12 and 13. But while in deep distress, Manasseh sought the Lord his God and sincerely humbled himself before the God of his ancestors. And when he prayed, the Lord listened to him and was moved by his request. So the Lord brought Manasseh back to Jerusalem and to his kingdom. Then Manasseh finally realized that the Lord alone is God. I just love this. Manasseh did some bad stuff. He made God angry. He sacrificed his children in the fire. He put idols in the temple where God's great name alone was supposed to be worshipped and honored. Later on in the Bible, it talks about how the deeds Manasseh did, it was like Jerusalem, the city of Jerusalem, running with blood. This was a bad guy, and yet all he had to do was to turn back to the Lord, his God, and admit that he was wrong. And his cry reached to God in heaven, who was moved by his words and brought him back home. That is incredible. Let it never ever be said that there is no evidence of God's mercy in the Old Testament, because there absolutely is. Manasseh's personal experience with God on high completely turned his life around. Once he got back to Jerusalem, he started work on rebuilding the city walls. But more than that, he tore down all of the altars that he had built and the idols that he had established. He completely changed his tune. And he now started to encourage the people of Judah to worship the Lord. What a difference a personal encounter with God makes. What a difference it makes when you finally recognize that the Lord alone is God. And it's something I think that we absolutely all need. See, I grew up in a Christian household. I was the daughter of a pastor, and for a while it was fine living with my parents' faith, if you like. I could see what it meant to them. I could see that it was a really, really good thing, how much it impacted their lives. And so I followed their faith. And I absolutely 100% believe that I made a very real commitment to God when I was at a young age, that I said I was going to follow after him. But at some point, I had to really work out what God meant to me personally. I couldn't live the rest of my life living on the faith of my parents. I needed a personal encounter, just as Manasseh did. No matter what faith his father Hezekiah had, he needed that moment of a personal encounter with God, that personal revelation that the Lord alone is God, that nothing else that I follow is worth it, that it's all about him. When you have that moment, when you realize for yourself the awesome majesty and goodness and greatness of God, then nothing can ever be the same again. Just like Manasseh, it's not just a surface level declaration of believing in God. It absolutely changes the way that you live. It changes your priorities. The things that seemed like the most important things in your life don't seem to matter so much anymore. There is nothing like it. It is a life of freedom, free from guilt and condemnation, free from fear, free from the traps of this world, the never-ending desire for stuff and the need to conform to a certain image. It's a life of knowing real and true and unending and unmeasurable love. That is what a personal encounter with God opens the door to. And if you never have, then I so encourage you just to open your heart right now to ask God to show you who he is for yourself. Because at some point, you can't just keep living on the faith of somebody else in your life, be it parents or brothers or sisters or friends or spouses, whatever it may be. At some point, you need that personal intimacy, that personal encounter with God for yourself. And it is absolutely life-changing. There is nothing like it. And even if you have known God for decades, you can still ask him for a fresh encounter, a new awareness of him right now, a new awareness that the Lord alone is God, that all of this stuff that seems so important just pales in comparison to knowing him and to having him in your life. Thank you so much for joining me here again for some more of Becky's Bible Thoughts. I'll be back on Monday for some more, so I will see you then.